Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the discovery of self is but a show away. With 1,000+ archive shows and new shows coming to you every Tuesday, we bring you illuminating people from around the globe. Visit our store for their services and books and enjoy the show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. With me, your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today, Marilyn Wilson. A local lady which I'm delighted to have met and have the honor of interviewing. And she said it's the real stories of real people living real lives that will define our generation. And I could not agree more. Self-Discovery Radio is all about sharing those stories with you every week of people that have embraced their lives, their redirect, their purpose in life. They're willing to explore, be adventurous, and discover what else is in store for them. And in doing so, inspire you to take your own journey. And very often share wonderful tools with you that you can apply to your own life. Now, Marilyn has done storytelling on a different level. She's actually written this beautiful book called Life Outside the Box, The Extraordinary Journeys of 10 Unique Individuals. And what I like about this is interviews that she's done of other people. And instead of like the short interviews or just a blog or, in a microscopic way, she's gone into detail onto these people's lives and what is actually meant to her, what she has learned about it. And this is what storytelling is about, folks. It's about inspiring. It's about educating. It's about igniting a passion and a wonderment inside of us. A sense of, can I do that? Oh, yes, I could do that too. And this is the point of storytelling. And she's written this beautiful book on these various people. And we're going to be really understanding why storytelling is so important today and what it was that actually brought her to this beautiful journey. Now, she's a freelance writer and an editor with a passion for interviewing. I completely concur with that. Whether through a random encounter on the New York subway or via one-on-one with an international recognized artist, the goal is the same, to share the unique journeys of inspiring individuals. Completely agree, and so from one interviewer to another, we're going to share those stories today and maybe inspire you to kind of take a journey of your own. Without any further ado, Marilyn, please come and join me.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, and I was actually so excited to connect with somebody who also loves interviewing. You do it on the radio, and I do it through the written word, but I just feel we have a connection in what our passion is.
Oh, absolutely, and we actually understand the impact that it means, doesn't it? It's people learn through reading, through art, through listening. That self-discovery comes through other people's journeys, and it always has, whether it was around the campfire, elders passing on to youngers. Storytelling has always been the tool that propels us forward.
I don't think I understood when I started this journey by answering a Craigslist ad, by the way. I always love to share that.
Craigslist.
Like all great things, it was just instinct. And the first interview, I was just so thrilled and had goosebumps to have somebody share their story with me. It took many, many years to understand how much I was personally changing and how their stories were fine-tuning and giving me information and knowledge. I think it's only out of 9 years and the last 2 that I kind of sat back and went, look at what I've learned, look at how I'm changing. And I always encourage people, talk to the people around you. You never know who's next to you, and you never know what little nugget of truth they may have that smacks you right between the eyes. You go, oh yeah.
Yeah. There's I've taught a course for 40 years called The View of Life, and it shows where people are at this present moment in time, and it becomes quite a shock to people of how much of their senses are switched off. And a lot of the time is the signs to your answer, the answer to your question, and the signs are always around you, but you never know which way they're going to come in. And unless you're willing to be open and talk to that somebody in that line or on that subway or on that path, you'll never know what that answer is going to be or what it's going to inspire. So we have to be open, don't we?
I am really lucky. I am ADD, my mind races, and because of that, I really have a very close connection to my instincts. I get myself in lots of tight situations because something happens and it just draws me and I jump. And I know a lot of people aren't that way. They have to put more thought into it. And for those, it's just a constant quieting and listening. You know, we're surrounded by noise. We're surrounded by our phone and our computer and the TV, reality TV, trying to tell us what reality is. and we the number of people I say don't even have time to read a book now or to call a friend. And I'm very fortunate in what used to be a negative. I've realized is a big positive for me, because my best interviews, my best choices in life have come because I've left. That didn't mean they were easy. I've cried a lot. I've had some very difficult moments, but I've always had that really great connection with my instincts. Something hits me deeply. I think I mentioned to this before we even started. You know, somebody will be speaking. I get a physical reaction. I get goosebumps. I go up and talk to them, find out, am I supposed to interview them? Do they have something to share with me that I need to hear? So I'm very fortunate to have that physical reaction myself. And I think the challenge for most people is that they have to learn to quiet themselves to hear that voice. It's not easy for a lot of people.
No, it isn't. And the answers always lie within us. You know, we've received the information, but what does that information mean to you? And until you actually are able to quiet and be still and listen, you know, to the soul, the heart, and the spirit, you're never going to get those answers. There is no downloadable app. There is no quick fix. Life is a journey, and you've got to be prepared to walk it, right?
My favorite was a Zen chaplain I talked to. She actually was a corporate gas broker for years, making huge amounts of money, and walked away, become a Zen chaplain. And I learned so many things from her. And one of them, she talked about intuition, and it made so much sense to me. She says, you don't just go with your stomach. She said, you do your research, you think about things, you put all the information in, and then you just let it go and get quiet, because your unconscious mind, your heart, your body processes that information, and sometimes comes up with an answer you couldn't even mentally conceive. So until you are willing to let go of that mental process and that mental decision, you can't hear your heart. But she says that doesn't mean you don't do your research first or go through the path you need to get to that moment. You just have to learn how to, when you know you've done your research, to get calm and listen to your instincts. I thought that was incredibly wise. You know, it's that balance of thinking about what you're doing, and at the same time then getting quiet and letting your heart process it in and the universe speak to you in a way that you wouldn't even think to conceive. I love that balance. I thought it was very wise.
Well, you know, we get a perception of something, and then it needs to go for a process, you know, before it becomes a project that you can perform and produce. You know, there is a natural order. You know, there's chaos before there is order. And if you want to know which way to bring that chaos about so that it can come into a productive order, you have to go through the process. And part of that process isn't just, you know, these are the details. We tell everybody, right, take a breath or step away from it. Present it to somebody else and see what they have to say, because we very often get so caught up in something we don't see it. You know, we can't see the trees for looking at the forest. You know?
Oh, especially if it's something we want. You know, it's exciting, it's new, but is it the right direction? So you do your research, but at some point you do have to get quiet and trust those instincts. And if it doesn't go well, that's a lesson you needed to learn to get to the next spot. Just because that didn't work out didn't mean it's not part of the road. I ran a magazine for 4.5 years. It was very hard. I met the person I co-owned it with through Craigslist. We had very few in-face meetings. Our goals were different, and there were some real highs and some really terrible lows. But at the same time, despite the stress and bad moments, it brought me to where I am now, and I am so excited to be in this moment. This is where I'm meant to be. That down to I was supposed to do that magazine. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it did end up folding, but that was one step along the way. So I think we want everything we're supposed to do be cheery and happy and full of success. Success, or finding your passion and doing it, often is an up and down journey. And until you get where you're going, you just have to trust your instincts to take you through the path you need to go on, and have the faith on the other side as the journey, the destination you're getting to.
Much like the book that you've written, Life Outside of the Box, we've got to understand that our lives are many chapters, and sometimes there are too many chapters for one book, so therefore it's another book. And it could be a totally different topic, but the common thread will always be there. And that we've got to be willing to kind of write those chapters in life. We're not meant to be linear. We're not meant to be boxed or compartmentalized. We have so many different layers to us, and those layers are going to, through the experience and through the journey of life, come and manifest in different ways, taking us down different paths. If we're not willing to do that, we're never ever going to be able to even complete one chapter. This is what you've written about the people in here, the extraordinary, beautiful ways they've taken their journey and allowed things to take them to places that they didn't even perceive themselves.
I really want to go back to one thing you said, because I got goosebumps when you said it. I told you I get really emotional reactions. I think it's what you just said was really important. Sometimes our life has many chapters. I think we're raised to think we're going to have one profession, one goal, one path. And I'm getting goosebumps now. It's such a profound thing that came out now. I just want to acknowledge that. People have to accept that sometimes what we're doing, there is a time to walk past it and walk somewhere new. That's okay. We don't have to live our life linear. We can have different chapters and different goals. I just love the fact you brought that up, because it's just a profound statement that I've had to accept. I've been a mother. I've studied counseling and drug abuse. Now I'm a writer. Who knows what's next? I may have something beyond writing that is my next thing. Just my age does not limit me. Life is in charge, and I'm ready.
But you see, your age changes your direction. I think what the beauty of it is, and I interview a great deal of many women 40 plus, and they've embraced that redirect in life. They've discovered things about themselves, abilities, gifts that they have, perceptions that they have, things that they're doing now that they never thought that they could do or wanted to do way back when. And that's, I think, what we have to actually understand, like a good Bordeaux, a good brandy, a good whiskey, with the length of time, it just gets more depth and richer. And if we look upon ourselves not as ready to be put out to farm, but ready now to really excel in who we really are and embrace all those beautiful levels of ourselves, we bring so much more to the plate now. Life isn't over because you reach 60. It's just begun.
No. I really feel that women in particular get more support for that. I really feel that the men I know that are struggling around their 50s and 60s, perhaps laid off, do not have a male support group for that. So I feel very fortunate to be a woman. My dad died at 55. My mother got her first job that was not supporting my dad's work at 55. At 65, she founded a program for the university she was working that she ran for the next 20 years. So her career and her purpose in life actually started at 65. There is also a man I came across recently that when his wife died, he was in his late 90s, and he had tried publishing before. Nobody wanted his books, so he finally started writing again, and in the next 6 years of his life, he had 5 published books. He said, this is the most productive time of my life. And he started in his mid-90s. We have to let go of age. We have to recognize that each stage of our life brings us another purpose. And I believe all the women's groups around She Talks and all these organizations that encourage you are great, but I don't see the equivalent for men. I don't see men's groups getting together, come on, you're 50 now, what's next? Where I see it all the time around me with women. So I'm not quite sure why that is, but I hope the men have that same growth, because I certainly feel very supported through my journey.
I think the men are getting it through the women. Like the women will go into a group and discuss it, but as they excel and embrace their possibilities, their age, and embrace, yes, I'm 50, I'm 60, and I am starting my life all over again, they in turn become an inspiration to men and kind of give that permission a little subliminally. They're not really people to get together and discuss the problems and be as open. But no. I'm seeing so many men right now, philanthropists, people who have made their money and who have decided to completely open up organizations investing in women, because they know that women are actually going to be leading us into a completely new frontier. You know, that peace that we seek is coming about through women because we understand love. And men know they need this. So I think they're not getting together, but I think what they are doing is vicariously living through our own journeys.
Oh, that's great. I hadn't thought of that.
So the more we inspire, the more we inspire them.
Well, the other thing I share with women, and I shared this yesterday, well, it was a mixed group yesterday, if you are having trouble figuring out where you're supposed to be, if you're feeling uncomfortable where you are, one of the best things to do is look at all the things people used to say, oh, Marilyn, if you could just, they'd roll your eyes. All those little quirks are actually your unique talents. It took me till I was in my 50s to realize that all the things that upset my parents and my friends that make me uncomfortable in certain situations have become my absolute best talents when I'm interviewing. And as soon as I started interviewing, the light came on. You know, oh, this is why I am this way. And as soon as you start finding where those little uncomfortable quirks have a positive outlook, where you can use them in a way, you're getting a hint at where you're supposed to be headed. I really believe that. If you're uncomfortable, it's because you haven't found that place where your unique qualities are meant to be. You were born the way you're supposed to be, and things that are negative can become positive when you find the right outlets for them. So I keep encouraging people, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're getting some negative feedback, you need a different community. You're not in the right place. Yeah. You need a different outlet for those. Start exploring. I mean, there's 100 things to do. We live in a very open environment. Go on the internet, go to events, go get out there, take classes, because you will, and start to look where those uncomfortable parts of yourself become a positive part of yourself. They are your talents. You're meant to use them. You're here for a reason. And I truly believe that. So I just shared that yesterday. And so for those that are still struggling, saying, I haven't found what I want to do, I can't tell, I'm in confusion, it's a great place to start.
Well, if I may share a little story.
Yes.
At 56, I suffer from depression. I was in a depressive mode, and I knew that, I have to be productive at that time. I have to kind of counsel, because that's who I am. I went on Facebook, and I was counseling some people, and it got picked up by this blog producer. And she went to my site, and she said, I think you should have your own show. And I'd never done anything like that before. It's different to public speaking and, doing courses. My first show was catastrophic. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. I mean, talk about retrograde Murphy and everything coming into one. And it was like, okay, can only get better from here. And I did 13 months of live shows, and believe me, the challenges were there. And then it was, I've discovered something about myself. I've discovered my voice. I gave permission to myself through this journey. And then I opened up this radio station, which was PLV for 2 years, and then we changed it to Self-Discovery. And I really have found my niche. Now, last week I did a show. I do one just on my own, Sara's View of Life. And it just came out of a statement that I put up there, that finally I'm heard and I'm seen. And where, being a very spiritual being, I spoke a language that people weren't ready to hear. Now, because we've raised those vibrations, if people are opening up that consciousness and letting that divine knowledge in, I'm beginning to be seen and heard. I'm so at home and in truth and in purpose and in divine spirit where I am with what I'm doing now, but it took me 56, 60 years to get here.
Yeah, me too.
And, I had all like you did. You're not educated, you don't have certification, nobody's going to employ you. Who do you think you are? You're not worth anything. Your bank account isn't worth anything. And they were placing all the value on the wrong things, and nobody was looking to the things I could do. And I think that's what we need to look at. Look at what you can do, what you love to do, what is meaningful to you, and pursue that. Yeah.
I always love to tell this story. When I started writing, I answered a Craigslist ad, so my reputation obviously was an amateur. Through 9 years of writing, over 150 articles, money was not coming in, so my husband considered it a hobby. I was working on my first book, and we changed homes last September, and I went to sign the papers, and he had put me down as a housewife.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I won't sign the papers unless this is changed. That's not my reality. I am a writer. And finally, when my book launched and he came to this launch, I had over 250 people there. It was just such a gift. And he finally got it. The lights came on. He called everybody and said, my wife is a writer. Wow. But your family and those around you often lag behind, and sometimes you just have to learn not to keep them updated about what you're doing. Just stay the course.
Yes.
I talk to people about community a lot. I never had friends. I had hardly any friends. I left high school early. This is pre-internet. We couldn't keep up through Facebook. You couldn't keep up through text. And I moved about every 4 years, and then I had moved to Canada. I didn't know anybody. I had kids. You're home. I just didn't have friends, and I didn't know who I wanted. I kept trying to make friends with the mothers at school, or trying to make friends the wrong way. And somebody told me the concept of Ujjayi, which is cooperative economics. And she had taken it in a more spiritual realm. Cooperative economics means the village comes together as a community to raise the level of everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I took that to so much farther. I took it into who I wanted in my circle, who I even did business with, who I wrote on, who I associated and made time for. So I do have mentors. I'm not saying I don't have mentors, but in general, the people in my life are people that I offer support to, and they offer support back. And within 18 months, I have this amazing circle of women friends.
Yes.
Because I finally figured out who was my community. I was 58 years old when I discovered this. You think you know. No, you don't. And when you make the wrong friends, then you start getting that, oh, Marilyn, if you could just, oh my goodness, you were so uncomfortable there. Of course I was. I was in the wrong community. When I get in my community, I fit right in. So everybody is allowed in my outer world. I don't shut anybody out, but the people that I hold dear and I hold close to me and I make time for, I nurture those relationships, are people that sometimes I'm sitting cheering them on, sometimes they're sitting cheering me on. We take turns uplifting each other, but our goal is that all of us raise our success together, whatever success means to us.
Yeah, it's that cohesive collaboration, and I always say everybody has a different ingredient to bring to the table. I mean, that's what is so beautiful about a buffet, right? A smorgasbord is we don't want the same dish from everybody. We want different dishes. We want to try them out. We want to kind of be inspired by them. But what is the common goal? What is the common theme? What is the common denominator that holds you together? And that's where that community builds from. And I've got friends that belong to a different community, a past community, and I'll see them once in a blue moon, and I'll talk to them once in a blue moon, and we'll keep it within those parameters. But I've got people that now have embraced 100%, 1,000% of who I am, and and that has become my new community. You just adjust. But where am I at home? I'm at home, obviously, with like-souled people.
Yep. Somebody threw out, this is a joke, somebody threw out a term the other day. We all know what namaste, I see you, you see me, basically, or I see the wisdom in you, you see the wisdom in me, but somebody came out with namaste crazy, and it made me laugh, because my group of friends is all crazy. They know I'm crazy. They know I don't fit in at bridal showers. They know I'm not a girly girl. They know my mind races. Sometimes I have to be smacked up to shut up. And so they put this at Nama-crazy, and it said, I recognize the craziest in you. You recognize the craziest in me. We're friends. And I really embrace that humor. I think we get far too serious. But if the group of people you're spending time with make you come away feeling bad about yourself, you don't need to get rid of them, but you need to limit that time and find a group that you feel at home with. Because honestly, you should always come away from your times with your close friends feeling better about yourself. You should come away feeling supported. And if you don't, the universe is telling you haven't quite found your tribe yet. You need to find that tribe, because as soon as you find that tribe, you won't feel bad as you walk out into these other communities and support and mentor and do whatever you're meant to do, if your tribe is there. And I'm slowly building my tribe in my 60s. It's taken me a long time to get here.
That is a good place to be, isn't it?
Yes.
And I always say, to be my friend, you've got to be a little crazy, otherwise you won't understand my world.
Well, and that's crazy to you too, my friend. That's why I liked it. It put a smile on my face, and I'm not trying to diss a religious term or anything, but sometimes we have to stop and laugh and have a bit of sense of humor about this all.
Lighten up, right?
Because life can be tough.
Yeah. And we've got to lighten up. Even the bad things that are happening in life is that you see so many people get so immersed into it that it eats them up. And then how can you resolve anything if you're so completely, consumed by it? What you have to do is step back and look at what can I do that can help the situation without it costing me everything that I am. Because
it starts within. It starts
Absolutely.
with finding calm inside. It starts with recognizing all those bits of you are exactly who you're meant to be, and finding that inner calm. I'm reading a book called Heart-Led Living by Sue Dumas, who's an intuitive healer, and I have to keep it down every 2 pages. But learning to listen to your heart, but first you have to love yourself just the way you are, because your heart is speaking to you, and it's going to tell you things that belong with who you are. If you're not accepting yourself, then when you go out, everybody's going to sway you like the ocean. You're going to be a little boat on the ocean instead of the lighthouse on the shore. So grounding myself, it's a constant little gremlins, that little tape from childhood. Oh, Marilyn, if you could just, you'll be socially acceptable, you'll be loved. Everybody will love you. There are very few people everybody loves. Somebody within my community, they say, Marilyn, everybody likes you. Oh, no, I get nasty emails every once in a while.
So the privilege of interviewing and being trusted, and I think this is the gift. I think this is what we truly understand as interviewers, is that people are trusting us with their vulnerability, with their depth of their truth, and they're trusting that we're going to represent that story, their story, in honor of their journey. And it really is a big responsibility, and it's an absolutely wonderful gift that they give us in this trust. And when they do trust you and you're able to tell that story, that very depth of struggle and strife and things that they've had to overcome to reach their own personal success, never mind what it's transcribed to in the bank account, their own personal success is really, it really is a gift to us, isn't it, in this interviewing? It really is an honor.
I have always been interested in people and been considered nosy. And now that, when you're young, nobody wants a nosy child. Nobody wants a child whose mind races and that's very intense and that doesn't fit into the girly girl mode, especially 60 years ago. But when I am interviewing, it is so obvious to those being interviewed that I am absolutely fascinated. The door's open. The other thing, because I am in a written format, I always let everybody read what I've written before it goes to print. So we can fine-tune it. Sometimes I'm bang on, there's nothing to change. Other times it takes some hammering because they just really want this. It's their vision and their words. So there's a lot of trust involved. My gift comes when I hear their words, and my gift to them comes when I write. I actually prefer the interview to the writing. But they know they're safe with me. I give them that safety because they see what's going out and they approve it before it goes out. And I think from an honorable standpoint, that's a good thing. That it would kill me to somebody come back and say, no, I didn't mean that.
Yes.
After I put their story out there. So I admire you for doing the live interview because I know there's things I hear that will never hear the light of day that have changed my life. They've shared it with me to help me understand their journey, but they're not comfortable with it being shared. So I have that extra layer in there. We've cried through interviews, we've laughed, we've had to stop and take a moment during emotional times, and we've shared really high points. And it's just I so feel like everybody I interviewed is in my family. They are people to trust. They've given me a gift, a precious gift that I am allowed to share, and it's a journey of privilege.
Absolutely, and beautifully said. And I've done shows on rape and on domestic abuse, on personal loss of losing a child. These are hardcore, and I apparently, create a safe haven for them because these stories need to be told. There are other people that are trapped in that that tragedy. They're trapped in that victimization, and the more we speak about it, the more we shed light on it, the more we empower them. We take away that victimization, the more we give that loving support. And these stories need to be told because they free people, they liberate people, they educate people, and they invite other people to bring in solutions and kindness and care and direction. So stories have to be told, because that is what enables us and gives permission to us to start finding that resolve.
I find so many of our celebrities nowadays on reality TV seem to define what real life is, and I'm very concerned about that.
But you mean you don't think we all should live the Kardashian way?
Well, people watch reality TV and then they mob these people. This isn't reality.
No.
Most of these are not reality. When I first wrote the back of my book, I said this was an antidote to reality TV, and it was kind of kitschy, and we let that go. I continue to say it's the real stories of real people living real lives that will define us. And if nobody tells their story, we're not going to hear them. Each story is a pebble dropped in a pond. Each story is making waves. And when I took this one-day course on speaking from your heart, one of the things she said was, you have to know that somebody, if you're sharing this story, there's somebody that needs to hear what you said. You're in front of a whole crowd. It may be one person, but there is somebody that needs that validation. There's somebody that needs to know they're not alone. I spoke at my editor just released Trust the Mystery. I can't remember all of it. And she had quoted from several of the books that she had edited, and I was one of them, and I was allowed to speak up there. And afterwards, I went running out the door because it was my son's birthday. Somebody came running out after me with tears in her eyes and said, I need your book. That's just what I needed to hear. That may have been the only person in that audience, but that's why I was there. So you have to realize I encourage everybody, your story needs to be told. There's somebody that needs to hear this, and if you don't share it or you don't let somebody else share it, that person won't hear what they need to hear. It's a responsibility of each of us to share our story when we feel led.
That domino effect, because helping that person, they will then share what they've got from it with somebody else. Maybe not exactly the same book or in the same way, but they will share, and that's how it continues. It's not about reaching the masses, the numbers. It's about reaching those people that need it in that moment, and then. Tomorrow there's another moment and another person, and we just keep doing it until, we do have the ability to reach more people, or those people who are inspired are now reaching other people. That's the beauty of it, and it really is wonderful when you do get that feedback of somebody saying, you shifted my world. And
it's like this radio show. This radio show came about, it's meant to be done. Mm-hmm. We're sharing, you're affecting me, I'm having, and there are people that are listening. If they're having a reaction, they need to stop and think about what was just said. It's a message for them. Not everything is said is for everybody, but these radio programs help reach people, and if you're listening, you need to think about what has hit you during this. It's a message for you. So you and I both do it. We help other people do it. And She Talks helps, at the end of She Talks, I had 500 people at the first She Talks, 500 women. And at the very end, the founder said, each of you needs to go out and tell your story. And each of you needs to go out and listen to somebody's story. And I thought, a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was saying this, nobody else was saying it. Mm-hmm. And now look, in the last 2 years, it's like ripples in a pond. More and more women are saying it, and more women are stepping up to tell their stories. I just think it's the wave. I think it's the reaction to all this reality TV and the triviality in our life that people are, and being caught up in our cell phones and not talking to people. I think this is the reaction, and this is the wave that's coming, and each of us has a part in moving that forward.
People are hungry. They're hungry for depth. Yes, all right, this tastes good, but it doesn't stay with me. There is no body to it. And, people are hungry. It's rather like, quite honestly, GMO food. You could eat as much as you like and you'll still be hungry because there's no nutritional value. You go to the organic food, you eat less, but it feeds you, so your body is more replenished and so it's less hungry. That's very, very much what we're looking at with society now. It's not feeding us. How do we feed each other? We feed each other by opening up and telling those stories. And those stories are really what resonate with us and allow us to tell our own stories. As you've allowed me to tell my story with you, which you have there ready to be published, which I'm very, very grateful for, because I'm always grateful for people who are willing to hear me and to share that. So thank you.
You are welcome. Yes, it's going live tomorrow.
Wonderful. And in the past, it would have been me putting myself out there. It would be, what if people like, what if people don't get me? Now it's, you either do or you don't. If you do, thank you. If you don't, that's okay. I am who I am. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. I'm embracing who I am. All my flaws, all my imperfections have made my life perfect, and I'm grateful for all of it.
But the fact is, and again, this was a huge moment for me. I was interviewing a photographer, and a brilliant photographer, one of my favorite. And I said, well, where do you get inspiration? And he's rattling off these things, and all of a sudden, and wabi-sabi. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it right. And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, it's the Japanese theory of beauty and imperfection. So I went home and looked it up. So if you have a cracked raku bowl, you'll fill the crack with gold, and it becomes more beautiful. And I started looking into this, and I just got chills. First of all, I really don't think we have imperfections. I think we're who we are. I think they're our talents. But I came from that. That was part of my journey. And that's when I began to say, okay, I need to find the beauty in my imperfections. And as I began to find the beauty, I found they actually were my talents, and they're not really imperfections. So it just changed my whole life. All my quirks are no longer imperfections. They're my beauty. They're what make me unique. They're what make me stand out from the next person, and they're what help me bring something new to the world, a different way, a variety, a facet. Who wants us all to be the same? I mean,
how dull.
Among my friends, I have an older woman who makes dark, creepy, fabulous steampunk jewelry. I have a private detective. I have a lady who runs a travel agency. I have another one who is a fashion designer, and on and on and on and on. I love it when we get together. There is one's a top psychiatrist working with families in really heavy job, working with families that are being torn apart to help bring them back together. And yet she has an incredible sense of humor. And so I bring these diverse people together. My life is richer. I wouldn't want them all to be me.
Oh, duh, I mean, you're with yourself 24/7. It's nice to have that diversification.
So, wabi-sabi, the beauty and imperfection. Ujama, building a community where you support each other. There was one other term, and I've forgotten it, but I carry them with me every day. I think about them every day. And the other thing is William Orlowski, who was sidelined in bed, totally with dystonia. It's a cramp. It's very similar to Parkinson's, but instead of tremors, you cramp terribly and you get twisted up, and he couldn't walk. And he had one of the neurostimulators put in, and he got up and started walking again.
Wow.
And is working. I mean, it's still a struggle, but he has his life back. And I've asked him many times in many ways, what's your definition of success? What advice do you have for people? And he says, there is no secret, just do and be brave. I say that to myself every single day. It's a reminder, there's no secret. If you are feeling you can't do it today, pick one thing. Don't try to do 20. Just get one thing done. Open your computer and answer your emails. Or,
yes.
Just if you put one foot in front of the other, just be brave. Every day, do one thing. Eventually, you'll start getting somewhere. The ball will get rolling. You'll feel the success building. You will get there. So if it takes you 10 years instead of one, it's just do and be brave, just every day. And so I repeat that every morning.
I interview people that are broken, and I absolutely love broken people, because the way they've pieced themselves back together in wholeness is they are this beautiful instrument of life now. The wholeness of them has been made up by so many beautiful broken pieces, but an embracement of the wholeness. It's really quite extraordinary. And sometimes we get caught up in things that are wrong with us, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and then you hear these stories of people that are truly, literally things are broken in their lives, physically or emotionally, mentally, and yet they look at themselves and all that they can do and all that they can achieve and the gifts that they've been given through it, and how they are so whole in their brokenness that it just makes us embrace everything that we are and everything that is possible within us, everything that we're meant to be here to do. And it's really, really, really quite beautiful.
I don't know if you've seen it. I've heard this many times, and it's not my journey, so I don't feel I truly understand it. But talking with people with Parkinson's, with different things, there's a journey. There's the diagnosis, the leading up to it, the diagnosis, the almost the stages of grief, the anger, the this, the that, and then comes acceptance. And somewhere after acceptance, every one of them begins to talk to me about the gifts that have come with it. Mm-hmm. And I always find that very interesting. Would you like to be healed tomorrow? Well, some will say yes, some will say no. I've recognized the gifts now. This is my journey now, and I find it just a very interesting process, because I've talked to many people, and it's been the same process every time. This journey through this to the gifts, and then the recognition and the honoring the gifts that they're receiving, and I give that a lot of thought sometimes. I don't, like everything, I don't think unless you've walked in the shoes you can fully experience what they say, but I think you can learn from it.
A couple of weeks ago, or last week, I interviewed Bill Mackey, he's a co-partner of mine in many adventures. And this is a man with OCD, a broken back, degenerative bone disease, Parkinson's, and numerous other physical issues. And his show is called A Series of Fortunate Events. And he's taken all of this and made such beautiful humor out of it that you can't help but laugh. And that's actually how he gets through life. He laughs, he uses his energy, he looks to the divine gifts that have been given out of everything that he's had adverse in his life. And he's truly a lesson to all of us, is that you can feed all that's wrong with you, or you can look to the gift that it's given you and apply it to your life. And he's truly an example of that. He's one of those people that makes you look at and go, never give up, never give in, there's always a reason, embrace the journey. But do honor those moments when your body says switch off, tune out, it's time to replenish. And it's knowing that balance. We learn so much from people, don't we?
The Zen chaplain that gave me the thing about Ujama, I talked to her one time and I said, I am AD, and one of the things that happens is you can get almost an OCD moment. Somebody says something and you chew about it, or you think, I said the wrong thing, or when something hits you wrong, it's hard to let go of. You want to fix it. You focus on it very intently. What do you do? And she said, you know what? All feelings are real, whether you're angry, happy, sad, whatever you're feeling, you should always allow those feelings. If you're feeling crappy and guilty and angry or whatever, give those feelings full vent. What you can't do is accept the story that comes with them. So if somebody's hurt your feelings, you let go of the event. You allow those hurt feelings to be aired, to wash through you, and they will move on then instead of hanging around. The thing that makes them hang around is the story.
The drama.
Changed my life. As long as you let go of the story, your body can honor your reaction to it. Wash it through, let those feelings go, and you end up clean. It's everybody needs different techniques. I'm not saying this is good for everybody, but for me it was. As soon as I understood how to let go what was holding it on to me, I'd get angry, I'd blow my pipes, and take a good walk or a bike ride, and then I come back and I'm fresh, I'm ready to move on. The story is gone, the emotions wash through. And I think everybody teaches, anybody struggling has things like that to teach us. I often find the most grateful, most positive people are people who are going through physical and medical struggles. They find a peace and they find a focus, and they are such a great example. Those of us without as many challenges seem to allow ourselves to focus on very trivial things.
There's a great movie called From the Inside Out, an animated movie, and I think everybody should see it. And I've sent a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists to it, and they've come back and said we're using this as a tool because it speaks just to that. Every single emotion.
It's been on my list. So I'm glad
you have to see it. You have to see it.
Go ahead.
The beauty of it is that these emotions come up for a reason. So what is the emotion telling you? What's the trigger? What's the reason? Once you actually understand it, you can deal with it and then let it go. As you said, it's not about holding on to the emotion and having it then dictate everything, because none of the other emotions are allowed to come up then. Every emotion is a representative of what's happening to you at the moment. Deal with your moment and allow other emotions to come up. It's very, very important.
And we tend to feel that certain emotions we should not allow. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be angry. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't mope. We shouldn't this. We shouldn't that. Let go. Sometimes those emotions, like you said, they're there for a reason. They're there to tell us something. Move through them. Find out what the lesson is.
Spend them.
And let it go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to let it out.
I know. I'm so glad you mentioned that movie, because it was one I didn't see it in the theater. I don't know if it's out yet.
Yeah, I think it's out on the video now, and I highly recommend it.
It's been huge on my list because I thought it would be something really good. So I'm really thankful you brought that up again.
And the other one I live by a great deal is Don Rue's Four Agreements, because they're so simple. Simply speak your word with integrity. Don't assume. Ask. You don't know someone's story until you ask. Never take anything personally. It's their shit, not yours. And the other thing is simply do your best, measured by yourself, not somebody else. 4 simple rules that I think if we could adhere to, we would make our lives a lot easier.
And every once in a while, I make the decision to remove somebody from my life.
Yes.
I usually give it 3 or 4 tries. But if their words are destructive, if they're not willing to use good communication skills, if they are bringing a lot of negative, every once in a while I have to remove somebody. And my dad, I didn't really mention this, but my dad was a minister, and those are not the rules we're taught.
Yes.
You love everybody. If they don't like you, something's wrong with you, and you're supposed to help everybody regardless of who they are. And I've had to learn that there are occasionally times for my health, welfare, safety, and for what I am trying to do, I have to remove people from my life and give myself permission and know that if, in the future they could come back. I never close the door fully, but there are just times that you have to remove yourself from a situation, a person, because it's not meant to be, you're not meant to be there at that time.
Yep, you're not on the same growth level. And what I have found very, very interesting is that I did that. I placed what I call the importance upon myself and my own life and what I'm here for. Not self-importance, that's ego and insecurity, but importance upon myself. In embracing myself and nurturing and oxygenating myself in this abundance that I'm in now, people are seeing me in a different way, and they may not still kind of completely grasp what I'm saying, but they clearly know that it agrees with me, so now they're paying more attention. So sometimes by placing that value upon yourself and allowing yourself to grow, you become this kind of beacon of light for other people to follow. Even if it's not the same path, you're just a beacon of a light to show them the way forward.
Somebody posted a quote on Facebook a couple days ago that I'm going to try to get it right, but it won't be exact. If you haven't met me in the last year, I've grown. I'm not the same. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I do. Even people that I walked away from, I check back with once in a while usually. We all grow and change. And I hope other people give me that gift, because I've made lots of mistakes in growing too. I mean, I just had very poor self-esteem. And when you have poor self-esteem and a lot of self-doubt, sometimes you're not as nice as you should be to people that push your buttons. And so, I continue to grow, and I continue to recognize that just because something happened in the past doesn't mean that person also hasn't been growing. So we all grow. We need to give ourselves a break, and we need to check back once in a while, because sometimes some of the people that I had no connection with, it was not good, have become my good friends now.
Yes.
They've grown and I've grown, and suddenly we're heading in a similar direction, and I'm so glad I kept that little bit of contact with them, because they've become a very positive force in my life right now.
We've all grown up, right?
Well, yeah, and I've grown up. I hope
Yeah.
people recognize and can see that I'm really working hard. I'm not trying to change who I am. I'm trying to fine-tune who I am. I'm trying to be the best me I can be. And that means I'm growing.
And honor yourself.
So I'm honing who I am. I'm
Yeah.
polishing it, I'm not changing to become a different person. I'm polishing who I am and cleaning out the cobwebs, and so hopefully when you meet me, if we weren't that connected in the past, hopefully you see a me that's becoming better.
And that's really kind of our story in life, isn't it? To always evolve, to learn, to grow from the knowledge that we learn. It's not to beat yourself up. I've done a past show on stop being your own judge and jury. So you made mistakes, so you did something stupid along the way. Lighten up. It's who you are today that counts. Who you're going to be tomorrow that counts. Not about who you've been. Stop making apologies for that. Okay, sorry folks, that's who I was. And I was circumstantial to my environment at that time. This is who I am now. I'm resonating on a different vibration. And if you wish to know me, we can go into our tomorrow. But, stop beating yourself up, folks, because really, it's a waste of time.
It's hard. My nature and my raising, beating myself up is hard. And so the book I'm reading calls those your gremlins. And so just every once in a while the gremlins pop up. You find them whispering in your ear. And you have to take that time for yourself and deal with them yet again and say, look, that is not my reality now. We never turn those tapes off completely. We can't let go of mistakes in the past sometimes very easily, but we can choose to not let it affect who we are now and where we head now. We have a choice. And every day I try to claim that choice. And, there's just going to be times you have bad days. You just have a slip and you remember something and you think, oh, I wish I'd done that better. We all do.
Have a wobbly.
We all do.
Yeah.
It's a human condition.
Yeah. But, the more you do embrace that divine spirit of yourself, the less and less you're going to visit that. Yeah. And, the more and more you look back on, even what you did yesterday, could I have done something better? And said, I should have done something better. No, okay, all right, that's fine. You could have made it easy on yourself yesterday, but you didn't. So what are you going to do today? And it's, you just, I think, learn to breathe. Take a breath, and just understand if you're going to be in your knowingness, if you're going to be in your now, if you're going to be in what you're meant to be doing in this moment, then you need to be in this moment and not bring something into the equation that really is not going to serve this moment. And you learn to get there, and it's just something that suddenly happens. You're there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful, and
it has been wonderful. We've covered so many topics. I'm kind of in awe. I think I'm going to be going over several of the things you shared this afternoon and incorporating it.
Please do.
Time for some new blog articles based on a few of your comments alone, I think.
And that's, that's again what we do, right? We spark something in somebody to take them off on some other journey. It's not like, that's mine, you can't have it. No, it's take. Where does it take you? Explore, share it with me. And that's what it's about. And, this is what your life outside of the box is about. I loved the stories that I've read so far. I loved the people that... I love seeing people face challenges and overcome them because they believe, they have a passion, and they're willing to take their journey, and you share that in that book. And if anybody is about to embark on a journey, this is a book they need to read, because it shows them that with belief, find something to believe in, act on that belief, and commit to that action. And these people have.
I am the feedback I've gotten, and so what I tend to people... read the book. It's Life Outside the Box, The Extraordinary Journey of 10 Unique Individuals. There are only 10 from the 150. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble Chapters. It's on iTunes. I have a little trouble finding it there. And then when you're done, everybody's going to find one chapter that speaks to them. They're all different. Everybody likes a different chapter best. But when you're done, or when you've read a chapter and your mind is going, take out that box of dreams. Dust it off. Yeah. Pull open that lid and look inside. What have you put aside because there's not enough money? Everybody doesn't think I should do it. I'm too busy at this. No, I don't have enough education for that. We have a list of excuses. Look at those old dreams. Pull them out. Dust them off. Pick one. See where it takes you. It doesn't matter if you get anywhere. It's time to start dreaming again. That's what I hope people take away. I hope they take away from that. Your journey is unique. Your definition of success should be meaningful to you alone. It is never too late. I didn't start writing till 49. My mother didn't start her 30-year career till she was 55. It is never too late. But those dreams, even if you have to keep it quiet and tell nobody to keep the naysayers away, are your future. They're your destiny. They're your purpose. So take a chance. Look at them. Dust that box off and open it up and look at them. I just want to say that today. If anybody has a question or needs some encouragement from somebody who started later in life, my website is under my name, MarilynRWilson.com. Pretty simple. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm everywhere. So I'm more than happy to get an email from somebody. If you're just having a tough moment and need somebody to give you that kick in the butt to say, no, go for it, you can do it, more than happy to do that.
And everything, all the listings are on here. You can also get it for Influence Publishing. Julia Salisbury is the way you went with that. So you can get for Indigo chapters on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. All of the links are right here on the posting, folks. And let us know what what the show has done for you. Don't forget to leave the comments either on Facebook or right here, because those are what kind of gives us encouragement to know that we're on the right track for you, but also that shares with other people, and through that sharing we learn.
Go ahead. I did want to say for international people, because of the distribution I chose, if you are an international company, use your local Amazon. Like Germany is Amazon.de and stuff. You can order these books through the international branch of Amazon.
Excellent. And I also want to just, as we close out, to celebrate you as a diva. We're all born divas. The ability to dream, to be inspired by that dream, to see the vision of the dream and aspire to make it happen. And you've embraced your dream. You were inspired by it to relive it. You visualized it and you aspired to make it happen. So welcome to being a diva. And everybody has that ability to be a diva if they're willing, as you say, to dust off those dreams.
Well, thank you for having me. And honestly, just from the post I saw on you, I just knew this was a connection I had to make. I think we're on a similar path, and I just feel so honored that we got a chance to not just interview me, but share ideas.
Yes.
That really made this special for me.
Wonderful. And I do hope to meet with you soon in person as well.
Face to face, coffee.
That would be nice. Well, folks, this is the reason why we interview. We get inspired. We get liberated. And we're hoping that by both of our inspirations and liberation, that we've done something for you. And this is the honor and the privilege that we have. And I love the story. So thank you so much for sharing it with us, love. And folks, don't forget to contact her, MarilynRWilson.com, and just follow her, and just you need to talk to this woman, so reach out. Until next time, folks, it all starts by being kind to yourself. Be open, be willing, and be ready to receive. Bye for now.